Okay, so today, our topic today is a little bit of a tongue in cheek, but there's a reason that I want to talk about this. The topic is ways to recover after a keto calamity. And the fun part is that I've kind of put it into three categories as how I see people when they kind of go off keto. Like, I'm not talking a one and done. I'm talking like a weekend or a vacation, or maybe kind of went off for months or something like that, or maybe even a year. And then the way, sorry, I got a little wing happen in there. And then the way that you come back to it afterwards. And when you kind of recognize where you are, it's interesting because I think a lot of times we feel like we have to go gung ho. I almost feel like, I know that I felt this way before, kind of felt a little bit like it was a bit of a punishment. Like, I did bad and I went off. And so I just have to do it in I don't care if it's painful and I don't care if it hurts. I'm just going to do it because I deserve it, because I shouldn't have gone off in the first place. Sort of that kind of feeling. I don't know if you guys ever have felt like that before. I have definitely felt like that before. But there's different ways to getting back on. And when you find the one that really works for you, and it may not be the quickest way back on, but it's the way that really resonates with you and makes you feel comfortable mentally and physically, I think it makes all the difference in the world of whether it's going to stick going back on, and also just that forgiveness factor for it's like, okay, so we go off. Oh, well, now this is what I know, my plan that works for me, so that I can get back on in a nice, comfortable way. And there's no reason to be beating ourselves up, right? Because it's not going to help us with anything. Okay, but first, I just want to say that if you're new, welcome. We have some new people in the group. My name is Lita, and I am not a doctor. But I love to talk about keto. I love to talk about natural health. And I just love to share that information with you. And I love to talk with my hands. And I love to go off on tangents. So these are things you need to know about me. And I just love to present it to you so that you can decide what works for you. Because in the end, you have to do you. So today, oh, and also anything I talk about here is just my opinion and is not to be taken as medical advice. Okay. Now we're going to talk about 3 keto calamity recovery types. Okay. So here's the scenario. You're rocking along, you're doing super good, you're on program. In your mind, you might be thinking, I am never going off. I feel so amazing. And let's face it, a vacation comes along, or you've got a fun weekend, or you decided to indulge in your one and done, and then you just decided to keep on going. However it happens, we have all been there. Every single person in here has been there. So that part, we're not going to go on and on about that, because I think you understand how I feel about that, how we shouldn't beat ourselves up. It happens. But how are we going to get, when we are ready to get back on track, how are we going to get back on track? Okay. So the first one I'll talk about is the no mercy. The no mercy person is the one who says, okay, that's it. I've had it with this SHIT and I'm ready to get back to it. And I don't want to pussyfoot around. I am just going to get right down to brass tacks. And I don't care if it's super painful. I'm just ripping off the Band-Aid and I'm just getting right to it. Okay. So this is the person that they know keto very well. So they just jump right into it. Odds are very good that they're probably going to be into fasting, because they want to get their blood sugar down as low as possible in as fast as way as possible. And they can handle a little bit of pain. And I'm going to say pain because this way of getting back into keto, I would say for almost every person, it is kind of painful. When your blood sugar is up here and then you drop it really fast like that, the carb cravings are going to be pretty bad. The hunger is going to be pretty bad. So you have to have one of those kind of personalities that's like, listen, I can just block that out and I can just do what needs to be done. Okay. Um, there's only like a small amount of people that I think do really well with this type of getting back to keto. Um, this is definitely not good for people that are triggered by a quick drop in blood sugar. It is not good for people that are prone to rebounding. So, what I mean by that is like when you go too strict and the hunger is there and the cravings are there and the blood sugar feeling is there. And then it's just like, oh, forget it. I can't do it. I can't do it. And then boom, face first into a bag of Doritos. Like, definitely, this is not the plan for you. Absolutely not. And anybody who, let's face it, emotional and stress eaters, that is not a good one either, because truthfully, when you do this type of getting back on plan, if you're too strict, right, your blood sugar is going to drop temporarily, your cortisol levels are going to go up, and your adrenal glands are going to be a little taxed. So if you are an emotional eater or a stress eater, you definitely don't want to do it this way, because it's just too hard on the body, and it could sort of bring up those feelings. And then, it's bad enough that you're already feeling like you went off and you're trying to get back on. But then if you go back off again, then that's just going to make it worse. So definitely don't do that. But if you're the kind of person that's like, I can do it. I don't care. I can have pain for a little bit or whatever, yourself, it will definitely give you the fastest results, the quicker, you'll get right back onto keto and your blood sugar will get back and you'll dump those, the glucose pretty quickly. But you got to know that you're that kind of a person that can handle it and that you can't have a backseas do it. So you got to know yourself. Okay. Then we've got the middle of the road. The middle of the road. This is honestly one of my absolute favorites. It's one that I do quite often. And I will say about these different ways of doing it is that it might be different every time for you. I mean, I've done the No Mercy before, didn't love it, but I had a reason for doing it and I've done it. Middle of the road version is my absolute favorite. It's when, okay, you're not ready to totally go back onto keto, because either the thought of it is just like, it's overwhelming. After being off for so long, it's overwhelming. What you're going to do in this one is you're just going to cut out all grains, all sugar, and any obvious high carbs. Everything else is on the table. Eat as much as you want, no tracking, and you're just trying to eat the right foods. It's going to slowly bring your blood sugar down. It's going to start taking away the hunger, and you're going to start to feel so much better that you will just naturally be able to progress right into keto. Sometimes what happens with people is that they think going back right onto keto, they're like, it's overwhelming. I can't even think about doing that, because maybe they're new, or maybe they just know that their carb cravings are going to be too bad, or they're just like, it's overwhelming just thinking about, tracking again or something. This is such a nice, gentle way of getting in. And I've suggested it many times in the group, and the people that have done it have said it works fantastic. But I find a lot of times I've heard people say, well, yes, I could do that, but I just really want to get back into keto, because I really went off. And then I will see later that they will say, like in a keto confession or something, they'll say, yeah, I kind of hit it a little bit too hard, and I did go backseas. So this is what I had or whatever. And so now getting back to it again. And like, hey, whatever you want to do is totally fine. I'm just saying that if you know yourself and that you're an easy rebounder, you're triggered by having high hunger, this is a really good, soft way to get in. Just a nice, easy, gentle way. And you could do it for like a couple of days. You could do it for a week. Literally, I just say you do it until you start to feel better. And when you're starting to feel better, as soon as you can do more, you will do more. But just let the blood sugar going down and the carb cravings going down, let that be your guide. And then just gently go back into keto. That's my favorite one. Then we've got the keto for lifers. Okay. So I would put myself in that category just because I've done keto for so long that truthfully, keto is my lifestyle. Like I can honestly say keto is my lifestyle. I go off. I mean, you guys know that I do go off, right? And there's Beth, and I'm sure she would probably say she's exactly the same. We go off for our own reasons, but truly, keto is absolutely our happy place. It's where we love to be all the time. And when we go off, even though it's kind of temporarily exciting, it really actually becomes fairly uncomfortable very quickly. We usually tend to have get inflammation really easily. We bloat really easily. We're people like this are usually very sensitive to grains, and we have, like blood sugar issues and things like that. So when we go off, we're good for like a little bit, but if we stay off just a little bit too long, and for me it's a one and done, but everybody's different at what their tolerance level is, it feels not right. Like I'm like, this just doesn't feel right to me. I have to go back to keto. And so keto really is truly my lifestyle. So when I've been off, even if it is a little bit longer than what I anticipated, I kind of do like a bit of a hybrid where I will spend like 1 day or 2 days doing what I said in the middle of the roadway, where I just cut out all grains and all sugar and the obvious carbs. I just do that for just a little bit, just to take the edge off. And then boom, I'm right back into keto again, because I just know exactly what feels good for me. And keto is just my happy place. Absolutely. And I think there's a lot of people like that in the group. But the reason why I wanted to bring up these different ways is kind of funny. But also, when you know what feels good for you, you don't have to, I'll say, purposely punish yourself, for lack of a better term, just because you went off. And I see that quite a lot, where people just feel like, oh, that's it. I feel so bad about myself. I just got to really, really hit hard. And it doesn't necessarily make it any better. Going in a little bit easier, knowing what your personality type is like, knowing how your body reacts, give yourself whatever permission it is to get in gently, I think has better and faster results than if you hit it harder than what your body is really ready for. And then you could do the flip backsies. So you guys, tell me what you think. How do you feel? And I'm going to go back and read some of the comments, but where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as no mercy? Do you see yourself as middle of the road? Or do you see yourself as keto for life? And do you feel that you do what really works for your body? Or do you feel like when you've been off, you need to do it sort of more in a more painful way, almost like because you kind of deserve to do it that way because you shouldn't have gone off in the first place. So now you're going to do it like harder than you need to. I'm curious what you guys think. Oh, Cheryl, Colorado. Oh, I heard some stuff on the news about that today. I won't talk about that, but it sounded like there was some big stuff going on there today. Beth made it. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Sean, I've been there, stayed great for a year, but was definitely getting more lazy and dirty after 11 months with a good loss. Totally hear you. Totally hear you. I will just sidebar it by saying that 2020 was a dirty, dirty keto year for me. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I'm joking. I love really, really healthy lifestyle, and that's how I live my life. But I turned a blind eye to really tracking my carbs, and I ate keto, but way higher, and I did gain weight. I definitely gained weight this last year, and I'm still working it off. So trust me, I know. Sorry, sidebar in here. Then we had a family member pass away. Yes, I'm so sorry about that, Sean. And so went off completely for a few weeks, was afraid to do it, but because we had family in town, eating out in stress, struggle, keep doing small cheats, not losing much. Yes. And sometimes, like, depending on what's going on in your life, it is hard to say that's it starting today. Like, that's it starting today. And that is another reason why I love the middle of the road. And I say this to people when they are going through their hard times, is that if at all possible, if you cannot do your normal keto, do the middle of the road one. Say to yourself, I'm not going to have grains, I'm not going to have sugar, and I'm not going to have the obvious high carbs, but I'm just going to eat intuitively. I'm going to try and get in as many vegetables as I can. And you know what? You're not tracking. You're taking that mental pressure off your shoulders. You're not worrying about it. That in itself really, really helps. You'd be surprised. I mean, at the very least, it's great maintenance probably. And also, it'll help you for your blood sugar not to go up in those little spikes. So when you're presented with the donuts and the cakes and the things that come around, you actually feel very natural to say, oh, that's okay. I don't really want that. But when your blood sugar is kind of sitting there at sort of like the medium higher than normal range, it just sits there percolating. And then when you're in these situations with your family and stressful things or whatever, it's so easy to just say, yes, I'm going to do that. Not to say you can't have it. I'm not judging that way. I'm just saying that when you cut out the grains and the sugar and the obvious high carbs, it really feels natural to be like, oh no, I'm good. Yeah, no, I'm totally fine. And you're not actually trying so hard. So that's a really nice way to just, you're still kind of keto, but it's an easier way until you're really ready to hit it again. Beth, love burning my keto wagon once 6 times a year, but always back to keto, feels so good on keto. Yeah. So that Beth is exactly what I'm talking about. She is keto, tried and true. That is her lifestyle. But when she goes off pretty good. She really enjoys it. She not only knocks over the wagon, but she throws the gas on it and she lights it up. So if she's going to do it, she's going to do it. But she knows exactly her way of getting back on it. Her body is so good at switching between fat burning and glucose burning that it actually switches back pretty quickly. It takes a long time to actually get to that point. And depending on where you are with your metabolism and all that kind of stuff, or whether you're diabetic or anything like that, I don't switch back and forth quite so easily. I can have my one and done, and that's as far as I can go. And if I burn the wagon more, it is hard for me to get back on. It really is. But for someone like Beth, she can switch it back and forth so easily. So that's what we all strive for. That's what we all want to get to, because at the end of the day, we do want to be able to kind of have our treats here and there once in a while and get back on really easily. Sean, my joints hurt after a couple of days with grains. Yes, I can definitely tell. Just wish I could get to goal and maintenance because I miss some fruits and veggies. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're gonna pick that time that's gonna really work for you when you really want to hit it hard. Another good way, Sean, too, is that when you find, your sweet spot. I can't remember for you I don't think you're an OMAD person, but I think you said that you do pretty good with a 16-8, if I'm not mistaken. So for any of you guys that don't know what I'm talking about, that 16 hours of 16 hours of fasting and 8 hours of eating, sorry. And so I think you said that you're able to skip breakfast. Anyways, my point of this, Sean, is that if you can find what your sweet spot is, that you feel good all the time, and you can have your fatty coffee for breakfast, and you can skip breakfast, and then you can go and have your lunch and then your dinner, and you stay in your sweet spot as much as you can. And then once in a while, when you're feeling like you have an opportunity to go a little bit deeper, like maybe with an OMAD or something like that, that will really help you get down to where you want to be too. Like, you don't necessarily have to do, regular keto every single day, steady every single day. It's okay if one day is a little higher, one day is a little lower, because honestly, that's the calorie cycling that we've talked about. And in case you guys are wondering about that, I have done talks on that, and it is they're called guides now. They used to be called units. So I always get that mixed up, but we have a tab in the group and it's called guide, and it's guide number 6. And I talk about calorie cycling. This is not carb cycling, it's calorie cycling. And it's okay to have higher calorie days and lower calorie days. And in fact, it kind of helps your body a little bit. So there's an option for you too, Sean. Linda, I bought the jelly beans again. I ate 10, that's done. Last time you said you were done, Linda. Come on, you gotta stop. I'm the same way though. It's like there are certain foods and I cannot keep them in the house. In fact, honestly, even keto ice cream, even a really good ice cream. I found one here in Canada. It's called Scream, Skream. It has clean ingredients. It's the lowest carbs that I have seen. It's as good as I have ever seen here. And it's okay. It's not the most amazing ice cream. I cannot keep it in the house because I am an ice cream fanatic. And if I keep that in the house, and also fully admitting, I eat the whole container. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. When I go to have keto ice cream, I don't know these people. I've heard folklore of people being able to eat a half a cup at a time. I can't do that. So I'm like, I eat the whole entire container. I know that about myself. So if I'm really treating myself, then I go out and buy it and I eat the whole thing, you know, and I can look myself in the mirror the next day because, like I said, it's clean ingredients and it's pretty low in carbs considering what's out there. But I can't keep it in the house. So, Linda, I know that about you and the jelly beans. So it's probably best that you just don't buy it. I know exactly how you feel though, because I do the exact same thing. Linda says she's keto for life and she's learning every day and slip up often. Linda, it's a learning process and you are doing fantastic. Seriously, do not be hard on yourself. You are doing absolutely amazing. Honestly. Lori, my sister, I usually start off with the pain, but then it fails for me. I love number 2 because I give myself permission to have as much as I want for a day and then it feels easy to get back on. Exactly. And I used to do the no mercy way too because I felt like, hey, I deserve to feel some pain. I went off. I deserve it. But then I realized that it actually was sabotaging me. It wasn't helping me get to my goal. And when I do it the middle of the roadway, start first, and then it gets me right into keto, I just feel so much better. It's really gentle and it just feels really intuitive, honestly. Anyone who hasn't tried it that way, really consider it. Kimberly says 220 sucked. It did suck. It honestly did suck. And it's like, just my age, I am getting closer to menopause. I mean, I noticed the changes. That's a whole other topic, but I'm not there yet. But I can feel that my metabolism is different. And then I put on this weight and normally I can just get right back into fasting and I can drop it quickly. And it is not as easy this time. And it's really peeing me off. But anyways, it is going to work itself out. And I don't have a set, anytime I'm hard on myself, I say, why are you in such a rush? Like, seriously, I got nothing going on. Specifically, you know what I mean? And it's all about my health and I will get to my goal when I get to my goal. It's about feeling good and it's about being healthy. And so I'm trying very hard to take this pressure off myself. But in my mind, I look back in my journal where I keep track of everything, my measurements, my weights and everything. And I'm like, okay, I'm right now kind of where I was about a year ago, right when I went, well, actually, no, that's not true. Okay, sorry. I was going to say when I went on my vacation, but it's actually when I came back from my vacation. So after my vacation, I gained some weight and now a year later, I'm right there. So it's frustrating because I'm first time ever since I went keto that I have gone backwards. And I'm sure some of you guys can relate. And it's so frustrating because I never thought, having a one and done and having a weekend off and a little vacation, whatever, totally. But I didn't think I would ever actually go backwards on the scale in inches. I actually tried on a pair of denim capris from last year and I'm not quite ready for it yet. And that was hard to take. that was really disappointing, but that's okay. It's in my shrine. I am trying them on weekly. That is my motivation and I'm moving ahead. So sorry, I'm going off on my tangents, but suffice it to say, I think 2020 was really difficult for pretty much all of us. And on top of that, some of us have had some really hard things to deal with. And I think we just have to accept the fact that shit happens. Shit happens and we're not always going to be on our game and we are going to have backseas. And what are we going to do about it when we're ready to do something about it? That's really what this is all about. Patty says, I went for a year and had awesome results. Now I can't seem to get back on and stay on. I'm gaining it back and it makes me eat crazy. The opposite of what makes sense. I know it really is the opposite. It's like, Patty, you know in your mind what to do. You know in your mind what worked before, but for some reason, it could be partially mentally. It could be that your blood sugar is just a little higher. Patty, one thing that I'm going to start doing, I'm giving myself this week of doing, because we're doing the 7-day OMAD challenge in the group, in case any of you guys are watching and don't know. And this is a current video. Definitely look at announcements because today was just day 1 and it's not even over yet. And we're doing that for a week. But after this week, I'm actually going to start checking my blood glucose every day, probably twice a day. And I just want to see where I'm at because, Patty, sometimes I think that as we get older and just some things change, that maybe we don't realize that our blood sugar is kind of creeping up a little bit. And I sort of have a suspicion that mine has, and that might have made the difference between why I was struggling a little bit more. I think now I've kind of gotten it down, but I should have checked it before. So you might want to think about that if you have a blood glucose meter, just see where you're at with that. Sean says, I'm definitely staying away from the sugars and trying to cut down on dairy, except for cheese. You know what? Cheese is one of the, like, I'm a little bit sensitive to dairy. And then the more closer to true milk it is, the worse it is. So I do absolutely like goat cheese and all that, totally fine. But they say, like my naturopathic doctor said, that like butter is fine. Usually cheese is not a problem, even for people that are sensitive. I mean, unless you've got an actual allergy or you're severely sensitive. But cheese is usually good. And then as the closer that you get to milk, ice cream can kind of be iffy or whatever. So I kind of do the same thing. I stick mostly to cheese. And that's why I love fasting so much, because I'm not having it all the time. It's sort of like I end up having cheese maybe every second or third day, which kind of helps me a little bit. There's no way, unless I got some kind of a diagnosis of having like an allergy to dairy, there is no way I'm not having my cheese. Like that is just that is just not going to happen. Sean, I was doing 16/8 or 24 daily. Got stalled, so I started alternating days, but that was before I got off. So trying back 16/8. Thanks so much for all the good advice. You're so welcome. And I will say about the alternate fasting days, well, I'll say with any kind of a fasting, I find with most people, and I can say this for me, gradually working your way up, the better. So say you start with your 16/8 and you're doing that for a while and you're feeling super good. And then you want to up that to a 24 and you're feeling good with that. And then maybe you want to throw in some alternate day fasting. But if you try to do it too strict, too early, it's sort of like your body goes, I can't take it. And it's so easy to revert back. There was a time when I was testing out the alternate day fasting before I wanted to talk to you guys about it, another video, guide 7, if you want to look at the past videos. And I jumped into alternate day fasting too fast. My blood sugar wasn't low enough. And I rebounded and I ended up going way too high on carbs. And so I had to kind of go backwards again and get myself gradually in there. So I've kind of learned that about myself. You might find that that helps you, Sean, just to go in gradual and just add some harder things as it goes along. Kimberly says, OMAD is my sweet spot. It's been tough for months, but I haven't gained. I've been strict keto for so long. It's hard for me to believe I haven't gained more weight. Well, you know what? Your metabolism is changing and your body is obviously really good at switching back and forth. I know OMAD it's a real good sweet spot for me too. And a lot of people in the group just love OMAD. It certainly affords you a little bit more leeway when you're doing your one meal a day. And I'd be curious to hear how you do yours, Kimberly. When I do my OMAD, I still have my fatty coffees. I absolutely love them and I do fantastic with them. I actually do better with them than when I've tried to go black coffee, because I've tried that one too and I just did not feel well that way. So yeah, I'd be curious how you do it. But OMAD is such a great one for any of you who haven't done OMAD before. You don't have to do it on a regular basis, but your body might naturally come to it. Like I said, we're doing the OMAD challenge this week and it's going to be good. And doing it for a whole week will really teach you like how your body feels with it. But even if you just want to do it for a couple of days, but where I think OMAD really shines, even if you don't want to do it on a regular basis, use it for your socializing. So like if you're going out for dinner with family or friends, or you're having a get together, like I'm just saying, depending on where you live. And if you can do those kind of things, we're not there yet where I live, but let's just say for argument's sake that you were going out for dinner, OMAD is fantastic because you haven't had much during the day and then you get this awesome meal. And yes, ideally you will stick to your macros and you will keep it in proportion with your protein and your fat and everything. But let's just say if you weren't totally being, sticking with it, you can have a little bit more leeway with your OMAD meal. So for that reason, I love OMAD. I absolutely love OMAD. Carmen says, me too, clothes are snug. I know, isn't that frustrating? I am so frustrating. And I am one of those people, I refuse. I absolutely refuse. I will not go out and buy bigger clothes. I won't do it. I will not do it because it just pisses me off. I'm not that far off. Like I'm like 5 pounds from being fairly comfortable with most and 10 pounds to be, back where I was before or whatever. But I refuse because that to me is like, I don't know. It's just the ultimate betrayal. I cannot buy bigger clothes. So I will wear my stretchy pants a little bit longer. That's a bad thing about this stupid COVID and working from home and stuff. You get really like used to your looser clothing, shall we say. And then when you have to actually put on real, grown up clothes and you go, crap, that's actually kind of snug. I don't really like how that fits. Sean, yes, shit happens. Love it. Not stressing too much. Just trying to do my best to move forward. Good for you. That's exactly what you need to do. There's no point in getting upset about. It's not going to help anything. Kimberly, yes, always do fatty coffee in the morning. Fantastic. I do too. It's awesome. OMAD only on the weekdays. That, Kimberly, that is fantastic. I mean, I've done lots of talks on that, but we could touch on this quickly, is that creating the lifestyle that works for you. So Kimberly does OMAD, which is 1 meal a day, like Monday to Friday. I'm going to say she probably does. And then Saturday, Sunday, she's probably doing a 2MAD. She's probably doing 2 meals a day. I'm guessing you're probably having your fatty coffee for breakfast still, or maybe you're having a nice big breakfast because it's the weekend. Maybe you're eating 2 meals a day or 3 meals a day, and then right back to your OMAD Monday to Friday. It's a great schedule that works for you. It makes you happy and it works really good for your lifestyle. Carmen, I do fatty coffee. I drink water, keto BHB or bone broth, and then OMAD. Great. That's an awesome day. Awesome day. Carmen, yes, I'll buy smaller clothes, but never bigger. Exactly. I will not. Even though, I mean, we know out of our clothes which ones kind of like fit bigger or whatever, but that's okay. I'll still count that as fitting. But I will not buy bigger clothes. Will not do it. Yeah, it's admitting defeat. That's exactly it. I will not admit defeat. No way. I'm just getting back to my usual. So anyways, you guys, that's really what I want to talk about today, because like it is kind of fun to see where we are in the different levels or whatever. But I just really wanted to emphasize the fact that harder and more painful isn't necessarily better. Giving yourself a little bit of a break mentally and physically so that you can get right back into it again, in the end, is probably going to serve you better. I remember so many times when I said, that's it, day one, and I was going to hit it super hard, and I hit it super hard. I couldn't last. I could not last if I felt that hunger or my carb cravings were too bad. And then maybe I had some emotions going on or whatever. That was it. And then I was rebounding again. And that cycle, continuing that cycle, is worse than going off in the first place. I feel it's just so much better if you do it the most gentle way and then just crescendo your way back up into your sweet spot. And there you will hold until the next time you decide to go off. And that is your choice if you decide to go off. And that's totally okay. Beth says, life doesn't start until I have my fatty coffee. Yes, I remember when you first said that. I think I made that into like a little saying in the group or whatever. Life doesn't start until I have my fatty coffee. I absolutely love that. I have tried so many different ways and I just do not feel the same. Yeah, it like gets my brain going. Really does. Oh, Sue. Thank you for saying Sue. I wish so much that was in your title, and I will try so hard to remember that. I usually do remember, but for some reason I just had a little bit of a blank there. I'm so glad that you love these talks. I love chatting with you guys. It's just such a nice way to kind of have a little discussion back and forth, but we will continue it on in the group. And thank you guys so much for coming out, and I hope you have a lovely evening. We'll talk to you later. Bye, you guys. Hey guys, before you go, hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit the bell notification so you can be notified every time we have a new video posted. Also, down in the description, I will have links to everything that we talked about in our chat today, including information on how you can join my Intentionally Bare Keto support group. See you next time.